The country is in trouble. For 6 years we've had a recession. 2 years into the recession, and what caused the change, of course, in control of the House of Representatives is 2 years into the recession. The president in the spring forces through the Affordable Care Act without a single Republican vote. So, with the Speaker of the House and with Harry Reid, look, they had Congress, they had the presidency, they could do it. It could be done, but it had never been done before. Any major change like that, they always sought a bipartisan agreement, not necessarily consensus. The two parties may not agree on the whole thing, but they always invite both parties in when such a major change occurs. So you were working in an environment where the decision was made not to involve another party, and the American people went ahead and said, well, then we're just going to elect another party to run the House. I don't know whether America realized the result of that is that you will get gridlock, because you have already demonstrated that the Senate and the President don't want to involve the Republicans, and now you have the Republicans controlling the House. In our system, bicameral legislature, executive legislative branch division, we're not parliamentary, we don't have a prime minister. If those three parties don't work together, and all three agree to work together, nothing's going to get done. So the bottom line is, we look at what's going on now. We've sent now over, it's 330 bills or something to the Senate. They haven't taken action on it. In the Senate, the excuse is, well, 40 Republicans can block anything. 40 of the minority party could always block something. That's always been the case. But the majority leader of the Senate normally has viewed the legislature as separate from the executive branch, a co-equal branch, and realized that you have to work with the House. And whether that was, Lyndon Johnson when he ran the Senate, whether it was a variety of leaders in the Senate, they realized you have to work with the House. The bottom line is there's no desire to work with the House. We send bills over. The appropriate thing is vote them down, send them back. They don't even vote on it. We've probably cast, and I can look up the numbers, I bet you we've cast 5, 6, 7 times as many votes as the Senate has. If you're not voting, you're not getting things done. It's disappointing because you see the way out of things. For instance, last week we passed what we thought, the House thought, was going to be a solution to the southern border crisis. The way a bicameral legislature should work is the Senate should either pass a bill of their own or take up ours, debate it, vote on it, amend it, send it back. None of that's going to occur. That's my prediction. None of that will occur. When you have that kind of breakdown, again, you're going to get gridlock, and it's inevitable. I mean, it's just inevitable. I think until you get leadership that is willing to say, we will work toward getting something out of the Senate. As I tell people, again, Mr. Reid could get a bill out of the Senate, but he's going to have to actually vote on some Republican amendments. He's going to have to take some votes that he just doesn't want his members to take. Look, you're a legislator, you take votes. That's the name of the game.
Where do you feel like you've stretched? Where you've where you wake up in the middle of the night and say, this is not, compromising too much.
Look, it happens all the time. I'll tell you, for instance, we passed the VA solution to the VA health care last week. I think most people look at that, myself included, and say this is a Band-Aid at best. We borrowed $10 billion that we don't have. We did, instead of reprioritizing other money and saying, veterans are going to be a priority, $10 billion of that is we're just going to write it off to the federal debt and deficit. That's probably not, that's shirking our responsibility. And we can get into major policy depth, but I will tell you, having worked in a VA hospital, worked in hospitals, worked in healthcare systems, those solutions will not work. The solutions are a Band-Aid at best. Now, I think it's better than nothing. So I voted for the bill, but I will tell you, my prediction is our veterans would be better off had we rejected the bill, gone back to the drawing board, and actually worked it out. I'm a legislator. I mean, we helped work. At this stage, we did what we can do. We offered our solution. We said, okay, you have to actually, the fair thing to do is actually not make someone wait 1.5 to 5 years for adjudication. You should adjudicate more rapidly. You should make sure that if someone is claiming asylum because of either being sex trafficked or human trafficked, they actually were sex trafficked or human trafficked. Because the bottom line is, and look, I'm the son of immigrants. there are a lot of poor children around the world living in poverty. America cannot possibly open its border to everyone around the world who lives in poverty. That's the reason, either poverty or poverty combined with violence. Because you can go into Central Africa, you can go into various places around the world. You can go into Arab countries where female mutilation occurs on poor girls. We can't possibly accept everyone into this country. So we have to make rules and we have to abide by them. And then we have to, with other humanitarian efforts, we have to try to solve those problems. But it can't be by absorbing every poor child, who lives under threat of violence somewhere into the United States. It just can't be for practical purposes.
Switching gears a little bit, I don't know what the last count was, but I think that the House Republicans or the majority voted against Obamacare.
Well, we voted against aspect. We actually voted against it in whole only twice. The rest were various aspects of it, 7 of which the president actually ended up signing. So, to say that we voted against it and they never succeeded. Sure.
What are those saying?
For instance, they included things like there was a long-term care package that set up a premium structure where younger adults now would pay into this package. They'd pay the premium, but they wouldn't get the benefit for 30 years. And it was clear that that actuarially it wasn't sound. The purpose of collecting that premium was to pay for current costs of the Obamacare system. Non-actuarially sound. Repealed on a bipartisan basis, repeal signed by the president. There were other calculations built into it that were incorrectly made in the bill. For instance, we had one, again, on bipartisan signed by the president, the fact that any business person who conducted $600 worth of business with any vendor over the course of a year had to file a 1099. The way small businesses work, you don't know at the beginning of the year, whether you're going to buy fuel at the same gas station is going to add up to $600 at the end of the year, so you have to keep a record of everything potentially for the whole year. The cost of that alone was going to outweigh the cost of businesses was going to outweigh the potential revenue collection maybe 3 to 4 to 1. It was called the 1099 rule. Repealed, bipartisan basis, signed by the president. So, again, when they say, we voted against it 50 times, yeah, some of them actually, the Senate agreed and the president signed because they really were flaws. The best day, but the best time was when we were discussing the long-term fiscal problems in the country and how we were going to deal with them. And we passed out of the House what we called cut, cap, and balance. You cut the size of government down to what you can afford, you cap spending at current levels, and then you eventually balance your budget. So taking a balanced budget amendment vote was probably one of the best things, one of the best votes that I cast. It didn't succeed because we have a 2/3 majority required, but it was probably one of the best votes and best days because we were sending a message that actually our fiscal problems they were real problems and we have a real solution. If only we could get more of Congress to agree with it, I think we could have seen our way out of it. I'd say, for the 3rd year in a row, we're going to spend less money than we did the year before. That's a real win for the United States. The fact that we could. No, it was because the House insisted that we actually cap spending. And we did it by making cuts in discretionary parts of the budget. So the parts that we didn't cut Medicare, we didn't cut Social Security, didn't cut Medicaid. But in other parts of the budget, what we call the discretionary part, we did cut. And we, in fact, for the 3rd year in a row, spent less, actual dollars, not a decrease in the increase. We actually spent less than the year before. We have turned the corner on the debt and the deficit. And it was because, we took over the House in 2011. And since then, we have exerted, some fiscal discipline, which I think the country needed.